Hello, folks. I am Priya Rao with Vine Roots, and I'm here with the lovely Cokie Ponikvar, who is one of the up-and-coming people in the wine world here in Toronto, Ontario. And I decided that it would be really interesting to talk to some of these newcomers to the industry, see what brought them here, and see where they're going. So, Cokie, welcome.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you, first of all, let's start off with your age.
Okay, I'm 21.
hmm So you're really brand spanking new to this. You've only been legal drinking age for a couple of years, but your interest in wine actually developed a couple of years before that.
Yes. So I started being really interested in wine when I was 17, and couldn't wait to sign up for the WSET level one as soon as I turned 19.
Okay. And so how did that initial interest begin? Was it at home? Were your parents sort of into wine and they started introducing it to you?
So actually, I saw on Netflix the Somm documentary, and I think it was the level of passion that these um, MS candidates had for wine that I just had no idea there was so much to know about wine. So I was just amazed by how devoted they were to studying wine, and I thought to myself, I kind of want to do that one day.
Yeah, I saw that documentary and the one that followed, and they were so cool. It really is such a fascinating world, and the dedication and the number of hours that go into becoming an MS is pretty staggering.
Totally.
But you're going to be pursuing a different path, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But let's start off, let's backtrack to once you became of legal drinking age. How did you start on your journey into the wine world?
Yeah, so I COVID kind of hit pretty soon after I turned 19. So I was able to get in my WSET one and I think two before COVID. And then once COVID happened, I started working at my family company. We have a brush factory in Hamilton. And so I started working with my dad and I took over a vine brush that we have. And so I got to go to a lot of wineries and sell across North America and meeting a lot of different people and get to know how the climate's different and how that affects the vine trunks and what kind of brushes we can use. So a little bit more of a technical angle, but it was awesome to be around wine at all. So I was really excited about that.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about that vine brush because it's not something I'm familiar with.
Yeah, so I have a wine glass here. I can use this to illustrate. So if you have a vine that has all its leaves up here, and here's the trunk, throughout the growing season, you get little leaves that are growing from the trunk. Those are called suckers.
Okay.
And so those are dangerous to wine because they can take away the nutrients that should be going to the grapes. And so you don't want any vegetation around here. So essentially it's a brush, and normally people need to bend over to pull these off manually, but our brush has a like kind of like a hockey stick handle and a semicircle at the bottom. And so you can just sort of brush along the trunk and you don't have to bend down. And so it saves a lot of time and yeah, it's super efficient. So a lot of growers love
Well,
to.
I feel like that could be interesting in for gardeners too, because they tell you the same thing when you're gardening with your tomato plants. Like you don't want all those shoots at the bottom because they do take away the water and the nutrients. So you want to trim your tomato plant as much as you can and just keep the leaves that are flowering. Just let them be kind of the focus of the plant. So it's super
Mhm.
interesting. I'd never heard of a vine brush before, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that I'll have to pepper that into my conversations with winemakers from now on and, make it sound like I know about the technical side of wine growing. You know, Always good to have a little insider tip there. Okay, so you began your interest sort of tangentially, and then what was the first great wine experience you had, where you had a glass of wine, you were just like, oh my God, this is something I want to pursue.
I didn't really have one specific experience. I kind of in my first couple courses that I took, there were a few wines that I just didn't. My parents don't drink sweet wine, so for
Mhm.
me that was really interesting. Trying some sauternes and even Martini makes this asti, and I was like, this is really good. So just kind of little things along the way that I've been surprised by, but there wasn't a one glass that really got me into it early on. Recently, I had a 2002 Aubon Climat Chardonnay, and that was really good. So I don't know, I would say every few months I have a pretty awesome experience, but not like a lot of other people who have one glass that, yeah, really made them think.
That really blew their mind.
Yeah.
Right. So it was sort of a more of a gradual discovery,
Hmm.
a love. Yeah. Now, I think you and I share a fondness for a grape that is sometimes overlooked and is considered more of a sweet wine. So let's talk about the lovely grape of Riesling and how you became so enamored by it.
Yeah, so actually I have a Riesling here with me today. Um I I love Riesling because I think it's it is misunderstood, and that adds an interesting aspect to it because there's more to learn, and I love being able to enlighten curious people about unknown things in the wine world. So Riesling is a great opportunity to do that. It pairs so well with food, and it comes in a huge variety of styles, and a lot of people are scared to have a little bit of sweetness in their wine because it's um, I like to explain that juice boxes have like 32 grams of sugar, and they're really small. And so if you have a wine that has 32 grams of sugar, it would be like per liter, and that would be a pretty sweet-ish wine. And the actual sugar per glass compared to a juice box, just a sip of a juice box would have more than a lot of that wine. So I think sugar is misunderstood in wine, and um, I love Riesling because it comes in a range of styles, and I'm not scared of the sugar.
Right.
um, but yeah, Alsace I love because it has a lot of
Yeah.
dry Rieslings, and they're just so refreshing when they're chilled on a nice warm summer day. Oh,
Yeah.
nothing is better.
Yeah, totally. Alsace Riesling is one of my favorite wines ever, you know. So we share that passion for sure. What are some of your other favorites?
Yeah, so I really like Chenin Blanc, and I'm still getting to know Chenin Blanc. Um, but I think it's a really interesting grape. And I wish Ontario had a little bit more selection of Chenin Blanc from Loire Valley. But yeah, Chenin Blanc is great. I think Pinot Noir can be really interesting.
Mhm.
And another one of my favorite wines is actually Pinot Noir from Ontario. And a lot of people have like wines because they mean something to them. And so I actually have done a lot of sort of learning at 16 Mile Cellar, which is a winery in Niagara. And I just love being able to do hands-on help learning like harvesting and bottling. And so I love the 16 Mile Cellar Pinot Noir because it reminds me of all that I've learned, and it's actually pretty good. So yeah, I like Pinot Noir as well. Recently, I've been really interested in the value that you can find in Carmenere,
Hmm.
and I have a tasting night that I'm hosting coming up to showcase that because a lot of people are nervous to break into chili because there's not a lot of education on it, but I really do believe that there's tons of value to be found there.
Yeah. Now let's talk about these tasting nights. And you have become you're starting sort of to become a wine blogger,
Mhm.
giving little information and some tips. So where does that fit into your overall projection, your career kind of projection, and how fun has that been to sort of share your passion and knowledge of the wine world?
Yeah, so I love teaching people about wine, or I don't even like to say teaching because that kind of implies that I'm a teacher, but more of just sharing cool things that I've just learned about wine because um, I think everyone cares about wine a little bit, and that's why I love making little videos that are approachable for everyone, but also they have more depth if you want them. So sometimes I put some more information in the descriptions, but yeah, a lot of people, even my parents' friends, they just come up and say, I've been learning so much on your Instagram, and that makes me so happy. I love to find wines that are high value. And I
Mhm.
think that ever since the beginning, that was something I was excited to be able to do as I learned more about wine, because it's not just about being able to taste more expensive wines, but being able to know where you can find great value and help people to find great value wines, because that's something that's really important. I think people who don't know a ton about wine have a hard time navigating and finding great value wines. So yeah, I have tons of fun on Instagram, and I love sharing really exciting news with people. Like I was I was in Boston a little while ago to do my wine exam for a WSET diploma, and I got to meet Bobby Stuckey. I was so excited. I'm really, really, really into wine pop culture, and I love meeting. I call them wine celebrities. I think they are. So I love sharing my journeys doing things like that too.
And as you've been kind of learning more and more about wine and tasting different varietals and different grapes, you must come across people who say, I only like red wine or I only like white wine. What's your thought on that? And has your own taste for wine expanded since you kind of delved into this world?
Yeah, so I think, well, a lot of people, I think the basic um, factor that is gonna have an influence on whether or not the people who only like one type of wine will be interested in trying another.
Mhm.
And that's just if they're curious and if they want to try new things. And there's nothing wrong with being really, really in love with one wine that you just have every night, and that's great. But then some other people, they want to try something new. So if someone wants to try something new, it's so exciting. It's like like a little I don't want to say test subject, but kind of. And it's just like I can have so much fun with someone who's curious about wine, and there's so many awesome wines that are so similar to so many others. So if they tend to like this, but they haven't tried many other things, I love putting a bunch of wines in front of them and saying like, what do you think of this? What do you think of
Yeah.
that? And most of the time they find something that they didn't think existed or that they love. So yeah.
I like to draw the parallel with people between movies and wine. It's like if you have a movie that you really love and it's your go-to and you're in the mood for a comedy and you're just going to always put on that movie, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you feel like venturing out, then it's really easy to say, here's another movie that is similar. It has a lot of the same kind of comedy, the same tone,
Mhm.
and it might just be something new for you to try while you'll still feel comfortable enough that you'll have a good time with it. And I kind of feel like wine is the same thing because a lot of people say, I only like dry white wine and there's too many sweet wines, but there's so many dry white wines, so
Mhm.
it really can be so fascinating, like you say, to put a bunch of wines in front of somebody if you know what they like and to say, try these four wines because I'm sure you're going to find something here that you like, if this is your go-to. It is kind of
Mhm.
fun, isn't it, to play around with wines?
So fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you have a Corvin and a bunch of wines in your collection. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and Coravin, for people who are watching and might not be wine students or winery owners, is it's a what would you call it? It's like a tool for
I
preserving.
actually have one here. I can show
Yeah, so
how it
you just
works.
it replaces the empty wine, the wine that you remove from the bottle, with some gas that keeps the bottle from oxidizing, for the wine from oxidizing.
Yeah, so you just put it on the wine bottle, and then you press this button and out comes wine, and in goes argon gas, and you just take a little bit and then you pull it off, and you've
It
still got
preserves.
a you still
Yeah,
got a cork, and you can put it
very
back for
cool.
up to 2 years. It's awesome
And
if
they've
you're
come
studying.
such a long way, the Coravin, from when they first came out years and years ago, because even that, just looking at the tool now that you're able to pour it out while it's on, everything has come such a long way. So it's a great tool to invest in if you want to have a little tasting at home with some friends. But tell us about this Carmenere tasting. Is it for friends and family that you're doing? Is it something that people can participate in? Is it virtual?
Yeah, so it's for some of my friends who are avid Bordeaux and Burgundy wine collectors, and I've secured some top end Chilean wine, which I'm so excited about, which is nowhere near the price of the top end
Mm.
of Bordeaux and Burgundy. For like $80, you're tasting the best of Chile. So I'm excited to showcase to them the quality and value that you can find in Chile. So it is a private event, but I'm trying to do more private tastings for all different ages, and I've done some with U of T. Because I also go to U of T. So I have some students that come over to my place and we do wine tasting. But yeah, I'm looking to do more wine tastings, maybe some virtual things as well. But for now, I kind of am just booking private tastings. Yeah.
And so, who are these friends of yours who are Bordeaux and Burgundy collectors? They cannot be 21-year-old friends.
No, no, they're definitely not 20. They're probably their kids are my age actually. So
Okay.
yeah, no,
That
not
seems,
many
that seems more
20-year-olds are
realistic.
avid collectors.
Yeah, Burgundy and Bordeaux are like top end. You're spending hundreds of dollars for a good bottle of either of those regions. Let's
Yeah.
move on to talking about where you're going in the wine world.
Mhm.
Now, there are two streams for people who want to pursue wine, generally speaking. I mean, aside from writers and, winemakers, but there is the master of wine and there's master sommelier. The master
Mhm.
sommelier is more service oriented and the master of wine is more theoretical. And you've chosen to go down the MW path. So, how did that come about?
Yeah, so I to me, I knew early on that I really wanted to become a master, period. And I did know that the two streams existed, but I wasn't sure exactly which one I wanted to go down. Just because the level of intensity, passion, and caliber of commitment was so exciting to me. It didn't really matter to me which route I went down. So I sort of split hairs just recently and am doing the WSET diploma. I think because I do like I don't know. I really love the theoretical part of it, and I love learning about the way that grapes are growing and the winemaking. And so I think that part is really important, and it's interesting to learn about the range of styles. So for WSET, it's not just about classic regions that are known for producing certain styles. So WSET has a larger range, and you could get a $6 wine on your exam. And so it's about assessing the quality and the all of the factors that go into it, and even wine commerce, like wine business, is part of it. So I think it's a really, I'm not saying it's better than master sommelier, but I think it's a really well-rounded education. And I love working in restaurants as well. So um, I think they're both awesome programs, but yeah, I'm going for the MW.
And what's your end goal? What do you hope? Where do you hope to be like 10 years from now, 20 years from now?
Yeah, I don't know. I am very entrepreneurial, so I always keep an eye out for business opportunities. Um, and actually have 18 inflatable pools in my basement because I bought those thinking that they would go up in price and value, which they didn't. So I have those. Very
Well, give it
entrepreneurial.
time, everything becomes a collectible.
Yeah, well, I'm maybe the plastic will start splitting, but I even bought and sold some Pelotons back in the day, which did work out in the end. But so yeah, I'm very entrepreneurial, always looking for cool ideas, and so I think somewhere along the way, I'll see something that I really like and want to capitalize on. But for now, I just focus on working hard and finishing my university degree, and then MW. And yeah, I'm so happy and so excited about the future and every day because I just love wine so much.
And what's your degree in at university?
Yeah, so it's kind of a general Bachelor of Arts. I actually write about wine for most of my papers, and my professors are saying, this is really the sort of way that we wanted this to be answered. I'm like, no, we're gonna write about wine again. So I use it sort of as an extension way to learn about wine more, but it's history and ancient history and English. So talk about the linguistics in wine, and different aroma descriptors and how they're inclusive or non inclusive. And then I talk about ancient wine and how they made wine in Roman and Greek times, and then all the way up until how some wineries were able to survive prohibition in Napa. So it's really cool.
It's a great way to merge your two two loves right there, like your university degree and history of wine is super interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Cokie. This has been such a pleasure. We'd love to sit down for a glass of wine with you one day and hear how your studies are going.
Yeah, I would love that. Thank you.